to find out a little bit more about why Danish people are so happy and what it is that makes them so happy. And it turns out there's a tradition called, well, it's pronounced hygge, it's spelled quite differently, and it's where people come together, families come together and spend quality time together and just be in the moment and enjoy that moment, or with close friends. And that might be having a meal together, might be watching a film, sitting around enjoying hot chocolate, reading a book together. And that's part of their tradition, and they make sure that they always fit that into their day and their week, and that hopefully helps make them such happy people. And I thought that was quite interesting, considering we spent so much time with our families over the last 2 months, that hopefully, although we've probably had times that we've felt a little bit fraught at times, a little bit tired of each other's company at times, but hopefully it's actually given you a chance to do things together, just everyday simple things together that actually have made you appreciate each other. And I always find it's a bit like when I go camping and get away from everything, the technology, everything. Actually, you hear the birds, you enjoy things lots more because you kind of have got less distractions. So I was thinking of one of the things that they like to do together in Denmark is to play games, and that's something I've been doing quite lately, and before that with my family, because I do like playing games. And I enjoy a good card game. So that was my nan and granddad up in Derby taught me all my card games. So that's quite a quick way to have a quick game with each other, and it can go on a bit longer. And I like testing the memory. So shopping games are always quite good because you have to kind of remember where the different things are. So things that kind of make you think about, test your memory. And then there's longer games that you really have to kind of dedicate. Oh, sorry, Snoopy. Dedicate a night to or something, or an afternoon, a Monopoly. So which can get a bit fraught at times, especially if someone's winning and you haven't got much. But it's still a good game of kind of strategy and way. You find yourself chatting with each other along, and I enjoy things like that. Now, one other game made me start thinking, because I was thinking if I was going to create a game, what would I include? Would it be kind of cards? Would it be kind of a challenge of drawing or something? And I think I do like a board game. There's one game I used to like, I haven't played it for a while, I might try a Ticket to Ride, and you have to kind of collect destinations you have to go to. So I thought it might get a bit simpler. I remember that being quite long, and I'm not sure if all my children would like to spend that long playing a game. So if I could come up with maybe something with that idea of travelling around the world to fit in with my little videos that I'm doing, and create a game that would take me around the world in some way. So I'm thinking of some sort of map of the world, and I'm thinking, well, I'd need maybe some counters, I might need a dice to roll to make, obviously maybe some coordinates, like battleships where you have to kind of move things. That might be quite nice, that idea. So what we're going to need for our task today, obviously everyone's going to do different games, but some of the basic materials we'll need for today are going to be some plain paper, if you've got a couple of sheets, one to get your ideas down. So you might want to pause this in a minute and think through, what games have I got, what kind of game might I like to make, who will it be for? Are you going to design a game for younger children? So then I've got one here I did when my children were a little bit younger, Hungry Caterpillar game, and it involved, what did it involve? Oh yes, open it up. You had to kind of work your way around the board, and I think you had to eat your way around the board actually, and you would kind of roll a dice and you'd eat your way around the vegetables. And I think I even made, oh yes, tiny little caterpillars that could go round the board. You can see that little caterpillar, and whoever got to the middle I think got the prize of a butterfly, a beautiful butterfly. So think through, who is your game going to be for, because it might be quite nice to do some sort of game as a kind of little gift to your younger brother or sister. Maybe a next door neighbour, you might kind of pop it on their doorstep and say, oh, here you go, they might enjoy it. Or maybe you do something for your grandparents and kind of drop it round to their doorstep. Or if you're in school, maybe it's a game you'll kind of pass on to someone else. So our challenge today is going to be creating a game. Who is it going to be for? Obviously, is it for you and your family, you and your friends? If you're at school and you're going to play it, obviously you're going to have to kind of be a little bit apart, so it can't be a game where you're really huddled together, but there's going to be lots of ideas we could explore to think of ways we could have a game a little bit further apart, and that might be in the future as well, so it might be quite good to come up with these things now. So I would like you to think of the kind of games you enjoy, do a little kind of list of things you enjoy about games, what they might involve, cards, dice, counters, and then I would like you to collect some white paper, some cereal boxes if you have it, or some sort of cardboard. Don't worry, remember we like to use our imagination and be inventive here. So So we don't want to be getting stuck about materials. See what you can find in your house. Obviously ask your parents, or if you're at school, ask the teacher, and use your imagination and be inventive. That's what we also like. And you might need some felt tips, some colouring crayons, possibly a glue stick, possibly a stapler, but don't worry if you haven't got one of those. Scissors will come in helpful, and pencil and pen. So I'm going to let you go off, think about your ideas for a game, and collect your materials, and I'll be back in a second to find out how we're going to make it. So hopefully you've gathered some of the materials we need. Hopefully you've had a think about the kind of game you might like to make, and we're going to have a go making it. I'll run through how I'm making mine, but obviously I expect yours to be different, and see what amazing ideas you have at home or at school. So the first thing we're going to do is take our cereal box apart. We have to find that little kind of tab where it's been glued together, and then gently put our finger under it, and then until we've got a lovely piece of cardboard to work with. First thing we want to do is get rid of these excess bits, so trimming round all the kind of tabs where it was joined together and cutting those off. That's your first task there. So it should end up looking a bit like this. So see if you can have a go at cutting those off, those on there. Next thing is, obviously this is kind of got a cereal box on one side and brown on the other. It's not the nicest kind of surface to work on. So if you've got some spare white paper, you might want to think how many sheets you'll need to cover that kind of brown section with your board game. And then start kind of drawing out your board. What will go on it? Is it a kind of snakes and ladders affair? Is it a Monopoly setup? How are we going to work our way through your board? Now, because I was going for the world on mine, I'm going to have a go kind of sketching out. Maybe I'll do it in pen. This will be a quick one. Got Greenland over there, Canada, Alaska over there. So it's obviously done very quickly. I would take a bit more time on my actual one, but just sketching out. I'm going to sketch out the world very, very briefly. I've got South America, Brazil down there, a few little islands. I've got Africa. We've been to Africa a bit about on one of our first journeys. We've done Brazil so far, and we did Canada last week. So now, here I'm sketching out around where Denmark is, kind of there. Okay. And I'll be adding colour to that, and as I said, I might add some coordinates to it, break it up into sections, and that might you might have to work through those sections, a bit like a draft board or something. Right, it's going a bit skew-whiff now, so I'm going to show you the one I've done earlier, Blue Peter style. So here's my map made earlier. So I've sketched out the world, I've added in my kind of lines, which I've then kind of labelled. I've got the A to P on the top layer, and I've got 1 to 10 on the bottom layer, which will provide an opportunity for people to kind of track down where they've got to go to. I haven't finished labelling all the countries yet, so I've got my kind of north, south, east, west, my compass on there, and I painted, use a bit of watercolour, but pencil, crayon, colouring pens, whatever you've got will be fine. So I would like you to kind of create your board, and then I've just literally stuck that onto my board. I actually did I do it onto that side? So it's kind of just, we're gluing those down, and then we can be thinking a little bit about the cover. What would we like on the cover? So obviously at the minute, my cover is just the brown, so it's not very exciting, but I was thinking back to the lovely design that my daughter Evie did for me for the little videos I've been making. So I thought I'd do a little copy of that, and I thought that would be lovely on the front of my game. So I'm going to add a bit of glue to the cover, and then obviously your game's going to have its own name. So, and it's very important what the cover looks like, because when you're in a toy shop, or even if you're looking online at the minute, you're usually drawn to the colours and the lettering. So it's good to think through the appearance. Sometimes don't just use your everyday handwriting, think about the font you're using, because if you were to send this to Dragon's Den or to WH Smith's or a toy shop or Hamleys in London, say, look, I've come up with this game, it needs to be eye-catching. So I'm going to be looking out for some people that really think through their cover, their kind of design for their game, and how you present it. So there's my cover on my game. Now the other things I'm going to need, when I was chopping off the sides of the cereal box, I thought, oh, these would be going to be handy to make little counters, and I thought it might be quite nice to have little suitcases or something that they take round. So each might be kind of different coloured suitcases depending on what colour you want to choose, and then just using some of the spare scrap white paper, I'll just glue those onto it, sketch out my little suitcase and create my own little counters. Now you might have a dice at home that you can use, or otherwise we have to create a little net for a cube, and that would be another little challenge to have a go at. See, and maybe you don't want a six-sided you might want to have one of those ones that you get lots of different angles. That would get a bit more complicated, but have a go, see what you can come up with. Sometimes you have like triangular, like a pyramid dice. So there's my suit. That could be my little counters. Put a little suitcase on it. And as I said, I might make those different colours. Now, I think the idea of my game is that you've got to get to different places. So I found some red paper, and I actually managed to find some little flags. So different places I'm going to go to around the world, and maybe the objective is that you try and get to as many places as possible. And so there's my little flags. I haven't made every country yet, so I've made a little kind of envelope to keep those in. And also in here, you'll be able to pull out. So I think you're going to have to pull out a coordinate, and then you'll roll your dice and you have to work your way over to that coordinate. So there might be a starting place, there might be an end place, and it's who gets through, who collects the most places. And when you get to a destination, you can take that flag and take it and see who gets the most. So that may be my, there's our Danish flag. So maybe we'll be ending up in Denmark. And what did I do? Oh, also I thought it might be a bit of a challenge to add something that kind of a hazard along the way. Maybe you have to skip a go. Maybe you have to hand something back. Maybe there's a kind of bonus, like when you land on free parking in Monopoly, you get the money. So I've come up. You could place sharks in different places, so that if you happen to cross over a shark, then you have to miss a go or something. If you land on a shipwreck, then if you aim to get there, then maybe you get some bonus coinage or something. So I haven't come out. Then I was going to have some pirates. I've got pirate flags I'm going to dot around in the sea, and then maybe if you come across there, something happens, or you have to give a flag to somebody else. So something like that. That's my idea. So there was a little treasure and danger envelope, and then I've got my little counters. So there's some more of the little suitcases. So I think I've said, I've done a little rules book. So there's my rules book of 80 Days Around the World. I've got for ages 6 and up players, 2 to 6 players, and then I'll start telling them how to set the game up, how to start the game, the little kind of hazards, the danger, getting the money, the bonus, and how to win the game, what you have to do. So people need to know those kind of things, otherwise we don't know how the game could go on forever and ever and never know who the winner is. So some little instructions of how to play. And I used a little leftover bit here of cardboard, and I thought all these little envelopes and things could slot in there, keep them all safe. So that was my game that I've created.
So now it's your turn to have a go. I look forward to seeing your ideas and the games that you make. Bye for now.